Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Sunday morning. Today, 9/11. Let me say that again, 9/11. That's a memorable number, a memorable date, a memorable combination. And I was thinking about that in terms of what we're doing here on the 77-day video challenge, and talking about my power word for living, resolve, as well as each of the individual letters of resolve are reflective of behavioral traits that I strive for and insist upon on a day-by-day basis, working towards doing as a part of a consistent, productive, useful, beneficial, and thriving life. And yesterday, we were talking about the letter L in resolve and the whole concept of lifelong learning being a commitment and a behavior and a very intentional, deliberate type of thing. As I was thinking about today and 9/11 and thinking about the fact that this is day 12 of the journey, it occurred to me that it would be good to reflect on the lessons we have learned, not just from these events like the historical significance of 9/11, because that's one of those events for those of us who truly were very present on that day. And one of the questions we often ask ourselves is, do you remember where you were and what you were doing on 9/11? And yes, I do. I remember it vividly. It was a significant moment. And that happens in life. There were and have been significant moments in my life that have historical value. I perhaps remember, let's go back to the 1960s and to the fact that it was in the early 1960s, 1961 actually, that my family, my mom and dad, bought their first house. And I remember that we moved into that house in North Georgia. And to kind of give you an idea geographically, when you think of a city like Chattanooga, Tennessee, where I had lived and had been born, and you moved just across the state line because Chattanooga rests right up against the Tennessee-Georgia boundary. If you were to walk out of the house that we had bought in the Lakeview community in a subdivision back in 1961 called Waverly Park, if I wanted to, I could have walked out the door of the house, down to the end of that street and turned onto the main street and began walking north. And in a distance of 1 mile, I would have crossed into the state of Tennessee and into the city limits of one of the cities that was around the Chattanooga area, East Ridge, Tennessee. And that was all part of the greater Chattanooga area. So I was in a bedroom community, as you would call it, suburbs, what we would later call the burbs, and now there are still burbs, but there's so much, much, much more. But that was an event, and it was during that time after we moved into that house that the Cuban Missile Crisis took place. And I can remember hearing Mom and Dad's conversations about the possibility that we could experience nuclear war because of the blockade by the United States against the Russian ships coming in that were carrying missiles, which were tactical nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles that would be pointed from the island of Cuba, which was 80 miles from the tip of Key West, towards the United States of America. That's putting them about as precariously close as you can possibly get. And that was the first of things that caused me to have a rising up in me a certain degree of fear. And I reflect back on that We were genuinely scared to death in the Cold War, of nuclear war, and there were all kinds of nuclear preparations taking place. It was a time where fear was present. And I can remember it was just 2 short years later, in 1963, in November, that we came from junior high school class to go to the band room for rehearsal practice, and someone had a copy of an afternoon newspaper, the Chattanooga News Free Press. Now, this same newspaper today is called the Times Free Press. But back in the day, the Times and the Free Press were 2 separate papers, and the Times was published and was available for purchase mornings. The Free Press was an afternoon paper. This was an afternoon paper, and the headline was something basically that said the President of the United States is dead. And it had to do with the fact that John F. Kennedy had been assassinated in Dallas, there from the area where the Texas Book Depository was at. That is a historical marker in our lives. And so as I reflect upon history, I began to realize that there are events that take place in our life all the time. Now, this morning, you might find it's a bit quieter. I have come to the front of my sister's house, and I'm seated on the front porch. I've got my trusty cup of coffee, and I'm sipping and enjoying it. It's a Hawaiian blend. And I'm thinking about reflecting on the things we've learned, and I realize that the experience of living is a learning experience. And I've heard a phrase said, you learn from your mistakes. And if you learn from your mistakes, hey.
Waffles?
No, not waffles, just proteins.
Okay.
That was my sister talking to me about what kind of breakfast we want to have this morning. And anyway, I was thinking about learning. And learning is an experience of dealing with the things that happen historically in the course of your life each and every single day, as you go about moving to and fro in the course of the day, seeing, hearing, experiencing things. All of that being internalized, and then all of it possibly having a way of developing or shaping or molding you. And sometimes learning experiences will transform you. Learning can be a good thing. Learning can be a bad thing. And I say that not because learning in and of itself is bad, but there are things we learn which probably we wished we hadn't. Some things we just don't need to learn. Bad habits are something we don't need to learn. We don't need to experience bad habits, but we do. And so what you have to do is you have to think, okay, what am I going to do to make sure that I get the most out of the experiences that are brought to my, to the forefront of my life as I engage them. So this morning, sitting here on this front porch, thinking and reflecting about lessons learned, I bring myself to the understanding that living is about learning, and there is the learning that comes through the natural process of going through each and every single day. But then there is also a type of learning which is based upon a desire to seek to know more, to experience more, and to internalize more. Now, Darren LaCroix, who is a masterful communications teacher, in his Stage Time University, one of his statements he says is, when you are dealing with speaking, don't memorize, internalize. Now, there are some things, though, that become, as I say, in our learning experience, because they're emotionally driven, they have an impact upon us, that they become seared or branded into our memory. But there are other things that we do that we must, through the experience of them and the ability to be able to relate them back, we don't memorize them, we internalize them and making them part of the fabric of who we are. From a public speaking point of view, as a communicator, I've learned not to worry about memorizing what I write, but rather framing it, then outlining it so that it has specific bullet points. I've learned that when I'm on the stage, if I have a particular platform that I'm walking across, there are places on the stage, they are positions that can be, for me, blocks to be able to express specific points in my speech in this series of stories that I am telling that all tie together to create a completed message. I'm not comfortable with the idea of sitting behind a lectern or standing fixed in one particular spot. That being said, because of COVID and the introduction of Zoom technology in the public speaking field, when you are situated inside the frame of what basically is like a television screen, there's really little room for movement. So it becomes more of a case of your facial expressions, your vocal variety and inflections, and occasionally a hand that would pop into the picture. Now, on this phone, that's even more restrictive because unlike the rectangular box that is a Zoom window, this is a rectangular box, but it is standing on its end, so it is higher than it is wide. An internalized speech can still be expressed in the communication of that speech and how you say it. That's something that I've learned through the process of observation, but it's also something I've learned through the teaching of other people and through the observation of great speakers. Now, getting back to the reflection part of the learning experience, we want to get back to where we reflect upon the lessons we've learned, see how those lessons have affected and shaped who we are today. How do those lessons need to be perceived in the light of today? Are those lessons useful today? Can we possibly benefit from learning more? Or is it best to file those lessons away because they don't really have practical applicability in today's current situation? It still begs the desire and the need for us to strive to seek to learn each and every single day. Learning, I believe, is essential. Learning can be life-saving. Learning can certainly be exciting and fun. Learning can be challenging. And I like the challenge aspect of it because from a healthy mind point of view, in my teachings under the I Never Noticed moniker, I know that the healthiest individuals usually are those who keep their minds incredibly active. And it isn't just talking about learning the basic fundamentals and other things that enhance what we already do, perhaps as avocations, but certainly as vocations. But in addition to that, I think it's important for us to challenge ourselves in a learning process to open up new neural pathways in our brain and create new kinds of learning. For me, an example of that is I'm trying to get consistent in going to an app on my phone called Duolingo and doing basic, fundamental, rudimentary Spanish learning and applying it as a part of a learning experience. I am a musician, so I'm constantly, as a member of the praise and worship team at my home church, I'm focusing on new music as well as remembering and applying and adapting and modifying and even rearranging the music that I know and sing. But my memory is also chock full of all kinds of other music that's been a part of my life, and I've been blessed to be in a music-oriented situation. I never was good at playing piano. However, by learning how to read music and learning about piano and its basic fundamental components, I can walk over to a piano, take a piece of sheet music, and be able to play some of the music and understand some of the chords, and that can be very helpful for me. So that bit of learning is still very fundamentally useful to me, and it's useful to me as a singer because it helps me to identify when singing parts, what part is mine and what part I need to focus on. These are all parts of the learning process. The learning process that we go through in becoming accustomed to working with a computer. I'm 72 years of age. I was always in front of a computer during the time that I was working for Geico Insurance Company as an adjuster. As a matter of fact, I can remember working on CRTs, computer relay terminals. And they were very, very crude mechanisms. And if somebody looked at one today, they would say, how in the world do you work with something like this? Yet I was proficient on it. But always remember, as we advanced through and we did personal computers, the desktop types with the monitors and the keyboards, we were still working within a computer system that was fundamentally proprietary to the company that I was working for. So I learned how to use that, but as much as I knew about operating that system and how to manipulate it and move quickly through it and get done what needed to be done and obtain the information that it needed to obtain, in reality, that was a very, very narrow fit on what it was that I needed to know to become proficient using a laptop, because when you have a laptop, you become a part of the World Wide Web. And in the World Wide Web, there isn't just what you can find online out there through the World Wide Web, but then there are software programs, there are links that you want to go to, there are sites that you want to click and learn and manipulate and go through. Information is coming at you at the speed of light. And in addition to that, knowing how to find and solve problems, being open to the idea that this is new, this is different, but this is an enhancement, constantly keeping up with current trends, learning how to use a smartphone, and all of the other equipment and tools. This is part of that learning process that we are constantly stretching. And not just stretching, but we're also, again, learning new things which challenge us, and those new things create new neural pathways. Therefore, they enhance, and they make the brain more robust and durable and strong and quick. And that healthy operation of the human brain also helps with the healthy operation of the human body. This is an amazing piece of equipment, and it was designed for the purposes of learning and for the purposes of us applying what we've learned, as well as the operating system that is automatically hardwired into the brain that gives us this operating system for the body that we don't have to think about, but all of the organs, the heart, everything about the lungs and everything about the systems, the nerve endings, the sensory operation, the endocrine system, the operational system of the stomach, the digestive system, respiratory, the whole 9 yards. All of it is in an automatic operating system. It's a system that will wear out over time because that's what happens to us as we get older. Things begin to wear out. If we do a good job with our brains and we're keeping a healthy mind, we'll work on keeping a healthier body. With a healthier body, we will be able to hopefully live a longer, more healthy and robust life, and we won't go into decline quite so quickly. I mentioned about the Alzheimer's situation in my family tree. Through the testing process, it appears that the Alzheimer's propensity is not in me from the testing that I've gone through genetically and otherwise. That was great encouragement to me, but that still requires me to take the best possible care of myself I can. Reflecting on that, and these are things which I have learned in recent times, and I say recent, within the last just a little more than a decade since Mother's Alzheimer's explosion in 2011, that learning process is important for me because it challenges me, it compels me, it pushes me to continually keep my brain elastic, plastic, malleable, fundamentally teachable, and always ready to receive and apply learning both intentionally as well as that which comes spontaneously. You are an amazing creation. Scripture says you are fearfully and wonderfully made. That's not bragging territory. That's an absolute truth. Humanity bears tremendous power over itself on an individual basis and over itself as a collective and over the world as to all that is in it. When we complain of what's happening in the world, please understand, significant, if not the vast majority of the problems of this world, no matter what they are the result of the choices that humanity has made. It may be an entire species of people. I say species, I should say probably an entire collective of people, a nation or a race, genders, whatever. Or it may just be the handful of a few that have power and are making decisions for the masses as well as for the world. But the point is, the caretakers, the custodians, and potentially also the people that pose the greatest danger to humanity and to the world are we, the people, because we have to be, through our lessons in life, making the right kinds of choices. Now, I'm not going to go into talking about political mindset because that's a whole different area for me. And yes, I'm constantly learning there. I'm constantly reflecting upon what I've learned over the course of my life there. But that's not the thing that I want to talk about, or that I have been talking about. I'm talking about reflecting on what you have learned, going through and sorting out that which has helped you in the best way possible, asking the question, what is it that I've learned during the course of my life that I could possibly focus back on, reflect back upon, and see if there's something in it that can help me with my life as a whole, but especially beginning your day today. What can I do to make sure that today, and again, let me repeat, this is 9/11. What can I do to make the world around me that I have immediate influence upon better? And that is everything about it, but especially the people that I've been given the opportunity to come in contact with today. What can I do with things that are scheduled to be done today? What can I do with the people that I love today to let them know how much I truly care about them? What can I do to serve you and to serve others today without being super selfish about it? What can I do today to make my mind healthier, to make my body healthier, to make myself stronger and more robust? What can I do today? What can I do today to live more fully in the moment? Whole nother series of talks when we talk about living in the moment as opposed to constantly being concerned about what's going to happen next or later or tomorrow. That's borrowing trouble. That'll pop up during the course of these conversations. But today it's reflection. And don't just reflect on the fact that it's 9/11, please. Reflect on this being a Sunday for me, what legacy has been cast into your life that you feel has provided you with great value and benefit, but has also given you great object lessons, great lessons for practicality, and great lessons for knowing how to better shape and understand things in terms of what's really happening and how best to deal and to cope with those circumstances, while at the same time reflecting on why we should be thankful, we should be grateful, we should make it our intention today to love people, to bring down barriers, to stop building walls and start breaking down walls, to break through and connect with people that need us to touch their life, and be willing to take the risk of approaching and hopefully making a connection with someone we've never actually connected with or even met before. A day is opportunity. Each moment is opportunity. When you reflect upon what's happened in your life and the lessons you've learned, you use those more effectively and cast them into your opportunities. They shape and mold who you are, but they also shape and mold what you will do and how you will go about your course of the day. Remember, and I never noticed, it's important for us to slow down enough to notice even sometimes what seems like the most insignificant things. And instead of marginalizing them, look closer and see what they can teach us or what they can do to delight us, or to perhaps maybe remind us or warn us of what to avoid. Being in the moment and not allowing yourself to be stuck, distracted by something that gets in the way. Like, for example, I'm on the phone right now, looking at the phone, talking to you, but the truth is, I'm going to put the phone down and walk away from it because there's a lot going on, and it's got nothing to do with this phone. The only thing I'm doing this morning is having day 12 conversation with you on the 77-day video challenge journey. Reflect. 9/11. This is day 12 of the journey. More importantly, I'm still in Georgia. It's a beautiful morning. It's cloudy, overcast. It had rained again some last night. The streets you can see are wet in places. And another frontal system is coming, so rain will be preceding that as it makes its way through. And the temperatures will cool off even more, but more importantly, they'll dry out. Right now, it still feels a bit humid, but it's not particularly cold. It's actually quite comfortable. It's in the upper 60s. So I am in North Georgia, visiting with my sister, sitting on the front porch of her house, having my conversation with you, thankful for this opportunity and what it means, thankful for you that are listening. Robert Wood, thank you for joining me this morning. You could have been doing any of a number of things and probably listened to someone far more entertaining than me, but thanks for coming in and joining nonetheless. And to all of you that will watch this video during the course of your day or over the next possibly up to 30 days, because these videos are saved, or for those of you that will watch this video on my YouTube channel. And by the way, if you haven't been to my YouTube channel, John Morrow, and at John Morrow on the YouTube channel, you can subscribe, and I wish you would, because these videos are going to be archived up there as well. I just want you to remember that in the challenge, the purpose here is to reflect, to talk, but also to cast the vision. And in the vision, I want to be sure to talk to you about my power word, resolve, and how the 7 components of those letters, RESOLVE, can have a great impact upon your life in learning how to notice more, see more, how to develop better relationships with people, and how to live a more robust and healthy and quality life. It's all part of the things which I've benefited from, and I share them with you because I want you to know your best days are ahead of you if you resolve to seek to have your best days possible. And to begin, you must resolve to reflect upon what good has happened to you and what you've learned from life, and then resolve that you're going to live more in the moment today, notice more, slow down, get rid of the distractions, and try to tap into as much as possible, because today is the only thing that you do have. It's about now. It's about now, this moment. And bringing that point forward to the conclusion, I'm going to wrap up for this time. I'm going to go inside and have some breakfast with my sister and with my niece, and then we're going to get dressed and we're going to go to church. I hope your day's a great one. Welcome to Sunday. The day is September the 11th, 2022. I'm John Morrow. Thank you for joining me on day 12 of the 77-day video challenge, and I will look forward, by the grace of God, to talking to you tomorrow on Monday for day number 13. Until that time, thanks so much for being here. God bless you. And remember, what you do now is the only thing that you can absolutely make a choice about. So make that choice, get busy, and do it.